Hey everyone, welcome to the RotoGrinders Morning Grind podcast. I'm your host, Stevietpfl. It's Wednesday. It's March 13th. It is 2024. We have a 7-game NBA slate to talk about here on today's podcast. Good week as far as like scheduling is concerned. A lot of 6, 7, 8-game slates, this is the type of NBA slate that we need in the middle of March here. So pumped how it's kind of working out as far as scheduling. Joined today by my good buddy, Will Priester, ChiefJustice06 on a Wednesday, filling in for Keith Eister. Eyes enjoying some Cubs preseason spring training baseball. So Will said he'd step in for him. So pumped to have you on during the week, my friend.
Yeah, and hump day, no less. So definitely glad to come on and talk with you about NBA. And I mean, really, Stevie, we're in the dog days of NBA now. Like, I think, we're getting down to 18, 19 games left for most of these teams. And, so as we close this thing out, I'm going to give my, I think, last pitch of the season, hopefully, because I've been doing well, just join the NASCAR package. I know this is an NBA podcast, but take it for a test drive for a week and see if you like it. But I've done really well with NASCAR this year, and all I've done is just listen to the man, the myth, the legend himself, Stevietpfl. He writes it. I follow the plan. We make money. It's very simple, and so I always want to put that pitch out there because you might not think it's worth the money, but one weekend I think you'll see how valuable it is. Most people make it back within a week or two, maybe 3, Stevie, but if you've been with the NASCAR package this whole season, you've probably made it back on one of the weeks, no matter what. So I'm going to shut up now. I know NBA pod, but I did want to put my personal marketing plan together for this particular show because I've done really well.
Well, I will say thank you. It's fun. I love NASCAR. Everyone knows that. And it's been a fire start to the season, no doubt. So hopefully we can keep it going. We're going to a track that I've had a lot of success in the past, so really pumped. We get to, Derek, I was just about to say this. We get to sweat the single game parlay from yesterday's podcast live. I almost just lost my mind. Nesmith, it said Nesmith got the rebound and it instantly changed to Siakam, and I'm watching the game on my other screen. I'm like, that's not Nesmith that got that rebound. So I have the under on Nesmith's rebounds. I need that game to end. But yeah, appreciate all the kind words for NASCAR. Really excited about Bristol this weekend. Can't wait. Love Bristol. Wish I was there. Can't go this weekend. My daughter has a tournament, so we'll be in Bristol. Derek said he tailed to Eric Jones. I sent out a funsy bet, Will, for NASCAR this weekend. I bet Eric Jones at 50-1 to win. He was so good at Bristol when he was with Joe Gibbs Racing back in the day. Has multiple wins here with Joe Gibbs Racing in the Xfinity Series. 50-1 after the speed that he had last weekend. I'm excited to see if he can show up. So like that one. Pacers game's over. My Nesmith under hits, and I'm in a better mood. So undefeated for betting tonight. So hopefully we can keep that rolling as we're recording the podcast here. Derek White's over 5.5 assists. Doesn't look as good, but hey, it's NBA. It's Utah. You never know. We do have 7 NBA games to talk about. Very interesting slate. A lot of low totals. I was noticing this when I was breaking down the slate. 7-game slate, and 4 of the games are under a 218 total, with 3 of those games under 215. And then the other 3 games are all over 230. So one of those types of slates. Let's get started here. Brooklyn at Orlando, 204.5 total. In this one, Orlando's a 7-point favorite. Simmons is out for Brooklyn. Orlando, full strength, ready to go. Let's start here with the Brooklyn side. Tough matchup against Orlando. Tough game, DFS-wise. Both of these teams play really slow. They're like 25th and 26th as far as like pace is concerned. Orlando, a great defensive team. Brooklyn, okay. They're not bottom 10, but they're not top 10. They're in that like middle-ish range defensively. What are your thoughts here when it comes to the Nets? Oh, muted on a Wednesday.
No. Listen, I caught it. It was. I was like, and I stopped myself. I don't really like Brooklyn here. Orlando has been tough. When I look at this team overall, I mean, I know like Claxton isn't nearly as expensive as he was early this season. Really, nobody is. But to me, there's still a fair amount of body, Stevie. You got Mikal Bridges, who, look, I understand he could pop off against anyone. Any of these guys could kind of squeak by. But I don't think any of them are incredibly valuable on this slate. I'm just not interested in Brooklyn today.
I'm not interested in this game. Like the Brooklyn side, if anything, maybe Claxton at 6,900, but I don't even necessarily love him. Like overall, I will we should note Lonnie Walker's minutes are kind of all over the place, and now like Cam Thomas is back, so Lonnie Walker's minutes should go away. Cam Thomas came back and took 24 and 19 shots, so maybe 6,600 for Cam Thomas, assuming that he gets like a 5-minute increase here. He played a back-to-back, so I assume that his minutes will be pretty normal here. So maybe Cam Thomas in large field tournaments, just the pure shot volume in general. And then on the Orlando side of this game, like Paulo's 8,900. It's not the best matchup. Franz is okay at 7,400. And like everyone's healthy. So it's really tough for me to get here. I will say, if I was going to play anybody from the Magic in large field tournaments, it'd probably be Jonathan Isaac if we are starved for value on this slate, depending on how some of these back-to-backs kind of work out and how some of this injury news. Like, I'll be honest, the injury report for this slate in general is pretty light, so we might need some value. So Isaac at 3,500, 18, 19 minutes here. He's a guy that can rack up 2 to 5 stocks. He can get 5 to 8 rebounds and score 8 to 12 points.
Yeah, I don't hate that call. I mean, Wendell Carter Jr. at 5,600 is okay. And I wish I feel like Franz has enough upside at this price, but it's not going to be consistent enough with the way Paolo and this team's been playing. I feel like I'm just kind of in on Wendell Carter Jr. Now, absolutely take the Jonathan Isaac call. Outside of that, man, I mean, even Jalen Suggs, where he's been playing minutes, 5,500, I still like he could easily play 28 minutes in this game. I'm just not interested in this game at all, really.
Yeah, the guard situation is a mess for the Magic.
Yeah,
as a Magic fan, it's a mess. I wouldn't trust anything here. Anything. Toronto at Detroit. 233.5 total in this game. Detroit is a 2.5 point favorite. Barnes, RJ Barrett, Boucher, Carton, Podol out for Toronto. Quickly and Trent questionable. Thompson questionable for Detroit. So this is the game that I have circled for value. Just looking at, depending on like Quickly and Trent, like Quickly is dealing with like a hip injury, so I don't know like the extent of that, but it's a groin injury for Trent. And like he plays big minutes, so that could be huge, depending on how that kind of shapes up. So definitely think we're paying attention because, I mean, Grady Dick's coming off of a fantastic game against Denver. Like he had assists, rebounds, scored 17 points. And RJ Barrett. Yeah, that was Denver. This is Detroit. Like you have this spot circled for a lot of people. Bruce Brown, I think, is someone you potentially have circled. Depending on, I mean, Deontay Porter with Boucher and Barrett out. Like, we need rebounds. They're going to need rebounds. Like, this is I think this is the spot you're circling and saying, hey, I'm probably playing 1 to 3 of these Toronto guys on this slate.
Yep, Stevie. I'm not going to add a whole lot of extra, but I think that's the way you play it. If Quickly and Trent sit, then I think you're playing Freeman Liberty. You're playing Grady Dick. You're playing Bruce Brown. And I'm not saying you've got to play them all together, Stevie, but I think if you're playing multiple lineups, all of these guys are in play because there's not going to be enough bodies up top. I mean, you got to think just having Poto and RJ Barrett out is already a ding. Then you throw in Scotty Barnes. That's another ding. Now you're saying, and this happened the other night, then the other 2 starters were out. So if all of your starting lineup is out, because Olynyk isn't a starter, he's basically the backup here. So if Olynyk's got to start, and I know he's priced up now because he's been starting a little bit, but then the other backup, which is Boucher, he was out. I'm saying at another position, Stevie, everybody's value in this game pretty much except Olynyk. I love Toronto, a spot with Detroit. Like this could be an exceptional spot for this team. And yeah, of course, because they hung in there with Denver, they go into Detroit and get their face bashed in. I get it. I'm kidding, but the point still remains. So much value is in this game already, even if Trent and Quickly play. There's still value in this game.
Yeah, fantastic. Just, I mean, it opens up even more, right? Like if those guys, if Trent and Quickly both miss, I think we might have to look at Olynyk at 7K. I don't feel like Abaji, I think, would be someone I'd play. I mean, I would even see like Freeman Liberty like plays a good amount, like a good chunk of minutes. If both of the we're talking about two,
going to play 20 minutes.
We're talking about 2 guys that play a lot of minutes. So yeah, a lot of potential here on the Toronto side of this game. And then, I mean, going to the Detroit side, Thompson matters. He's 35 to 40 minutes a night. He got hurt in the game the other night. Fontecchio, we talked about him on Monday's podcast. Yes. We loved him in that spot. He had a great game, back-to-back really good games. Good spot. Toronto defensively has been struggling. Talk to me here about Detroit.
Yeah, man, if Thompson is out. Well, first of all, let me say this. You are absolutely playing Kade Cunningham in this spot. No doubt about it. At least in my book. Kade Cunningham is going in the build. He's got just as much upside as anybody on this slate. Jalen Duren, I'm still not afraid of Jalen Duren, Stevie. He's going in the build for me at 6,700. We saw Isaiah Stewart. He played 34 minutes now. At some point, man, he's going to pop. He can't keep playing this many minutes. At some point, 30 fantasy points are coming. So I'm in on that. So I like him as well. Fontecchio, you talked about him. He's 5,100. See, what I liked about him, he's kind of doing it all, but he's also scoring. Now look, maybe the efficiency comes down some, right? Like he's not going to keep shooting 60% from the field. That's the past 2 games. But I mean, even if he comes down to 45%, Steve, like we're still looking really good with Fontecchio, especially if Asar Thompson is out. We've got Ivy, who's been playing really well. He played 33 minutes now. The fantasy production wasn't there against Charlotte, but still, like he still played nice minutes. And once again, Kade Cunningham just leading the charge. This game just gives you what you need on both sides. Some extreme value and some mid-range plays with tremendous upside.
Yeah, love this game. What's up, YouTube chat? Hope you guys are having a fantastic Tuesday night over there in chat. I have been working with behind the scenes for doing some giveaways for hanging out with us live on chat. So be looking out for that in the future. Working on, hey, you guys are hanging out with us. Let's give some stuff away. So appreciate you all hanging out over there in chat. Hope you're all having, like I said, a great Tuesday night. Chicago at Indiana. We get into our first of 2 back-to-back teams. This game has a 233.5 total. The Pacers are a 4-point favorite. Indiana is on a back-to-back here, coming off a really solid win against the Thunder. Let's start with Chicago. Nobody new to the injury report. Thoughts here on the Bulls?
I like the Bulls because they're playing the Pacers. They're priced up some, right? Like Vooch is 8,300, DeRozan's 82. Not AO. Kobe White is 7,800. But I think if there's one guy that can probably push the envelope here a little bit, I feel like it's Vooch. Like at 8,300, I think he can dominate this spot. So I like him a ton. I don't hate DeRozan. Like DeRozan's been good too. This last spot, I know it's a big flop, but prior to that, Steve, he pretty much hit 50 fantasy points in 3 straight games, 49 and some change to be exact, and 1 over 50. But that's still really good for the price. I think if I play him once again, I think I play more Vooch than any of these guys. Maybe I play Vooch and I put White and DeRozan in a group. I think that's how I handle it. Vooch is okay by himself. White and DeRozan go into a group by themselves, and then I probably take the Sunmu, Caruso, and the other band and put them in a group. Maybe I even use Andre Drummond a little bit in this spot because they're going to have some big guys, but he would be a separate part. Like I wouldn't put him in the group. Just maybe get 10% or so of Andre Drummond. But I do like the spot against Indiana. They could definitely put up some numbers here.
Yeah, I mean, good spot for Vooch. Indiana continues to be a team that struggles with like rebounding. We saw Holmgren and I think Chet both had double-digit rebounds in the game against them on Tuesday night. So I like Vooch. He had a huge game earlier this year against this team. Put up 52 fantasy points, 24 and 17. I'm not a DeRozan guy. I'm not a DeRozan guy, especially at 8,200. I would much rather. I think Kobe White's ceiling is just much higher, but I don't even necessarily love this spot for him or AU. So I really think it's just Vooch for me today. I don't hate potentially Drummond in large field, but I think we need Drummond to get down to 4K if he's only going to play 16 minutes. So for me, I think it's Vooch, and that's really it. And I mean, it's just DeRozan. I hate playing DeRozan, man. Doesn't do enough. He just doesn't do enough. On the Pacers side of things, we talked about Miles Turner on the podcast yesterday. He had a really strong game against the Thunder. And centers against the Thunder is really just becoming a thing. We have talked about Charlotte giving up so many points to centers, but centers against Charlotte, it's a thing. And we just need to keep taking advantage of it, or against the Thunder. Sorry. I don't necessarily love Turner in this matchup. I don't hate him. Honestly, there's just not a lot sticking out. Again, Halliburton's ceiling just hasn't been there. He had a solid game. His ceiling just seems to be a little capped with Siakam coming over, and Siakam's ceiling seems to be capped with everybody else. Indiana's a really good basketball team in real life, but DFS, they have all kind of limited each other's upside.
Yeah, and Steve, I'm glad you mentioned that. Siakam coming over has definitely changed things, right? Even earlier this season, Stevie, you got to think Halliburton's ceiling was massive, and then there were kind of just these random guys around him that you could play occasionally because their prices didn't get out of control. And now, I mean, his scoring, his assist upside is still there. The scoring upside and everything else is gone though. And so I'm with you, man. You can't really attack Indiana in any way. I mean, Siakam at 7,200, I do think it's fair. But I mean, I feel like I've got to play him when they're playing Charlotte or, some random guy. It's very I just think he's got to be playing a much higher upside team for me to start playing him now versus the Bulls, who, while you can score on them, they're not nearly as bad as some of these other teams.
All right, we got Denver at Miami, 213.5 total here. Denver, 3-point favorite. Tyler Hero, Kevin Love, and Richardson out for Miami. Butler probable. Denver's good to go. They're fully healthy here. Another game that's just like projected to be slow. I mean, the pace of this game is projected to be really slow. Defensively, not the best defensive spot either. Anything jumping off the page to you here for Denver?
I mean, look, man, you can play Jokic. You can play Jokic anytime. I mean, he's 12K. I think he's too expensive for this slate for what it's worth, Stevie. Like, I don't feel like this is the spot to play him. So yeah, I'm kind of out. Like, I know Michael Porter Jr. is reasonable. Like, he is reasonable, but they're facing Miami. You know, Aaron Gordon is reasonable, but you're facing Miami. I think I'm out on Denver.
I will say, like, Jokic and Murray have ceilings in close games, and this is going to be – it projects to be a close game. So, like, in large field tournaments, if you're getting Jokic low-owned on a 7-game slate because it's a tough matchup, we're not going to tell you not to fire some shots here on Jokic. Same with Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray has scored over 50 fantasy points in 4 of the last 5 games, 8,400. Tough spot, don't get me wrong. But overall, just not a spot that I love. And then on the Miami side, Hero being out, Butler being probable, I don't know if it moves the needle enough for me. Caleb Martin is going to play solid minutes. Waiting for Terry Rozier to show up in Miami. I think he's had like 1 ceiling game since coming over to Miami. Anything here for the Heat?
Oh, man. I mean, Jimmy Butler's been pretty good for a stretch here. Like, I know he's had some, a 28 in there and a 35 in there against Washington when he probably should have had more like 45. But generally speaking, like, he's flashed enough ceiling here recently, Stevie, for me to get on board with it. But that's about it for me. Like, Bam is just okay, but I don't trust Bam against Jokic at 8,500. I just don't think it's a wise investment. Caleb Martin, he's playing the minutes. He's okay. Jaime Jaquez is playing some minutes. He's okay. I just still, this matchup, you talked about the pace of it. I just don't know if there's enough upside for everybody. I'd still play Jimmy, though.
Yeah, just a overall interesting spot game-wise.
And usually I like to play stars in competitive games, Stevie, like
me
a
too.
Jimmy, Jamal Murray combo. This is a weird one for me, man. Just a weird one.
Slow game. It's not like it gets much better with this one. Charlotte at Memphis. 205.5 total. Charlotte is a 2-point favorite. Memphis is on a back-to-back. Yep. I mean, their whole team's questionable, so it doesn't really matter. On the Charlotte side, Ball, Curry, Martin, McGowan's, Williams out, Mann questionable. So the last slate that we did, Mann was doubtful. He's questionable for this one. So it sounds like he's getting closer to returning here. Memphis handled Washington. Washington's definitely not trying to win games right now, but Memphis played 9 deep, and we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go to Charlotte here first. Anything here on the Hornets for you?
I'm going to feel much better if Trey Mann continues to sit. The reason why that's important, Steve, is I think that solidifies big minutes across the board for all of these guys. Nick Richards, Grant Williams, Miles Bridges, Brandon Miller, and Mitchich. So it's not necessarily that I want to load up on Mitchich here, Stevie. It's not that at all. It's just the fact that if he sits, I know for sure Miller, Bridges, these guys are going to play 35 minutes. And so if he's in, a lot of these guys will still play their minutes in the 30s. But with him being out, it just really solidifies a really tight rotation. Either way, I'm still okay with Nick Richards at 5,700. I still think there's a little bit of meat on the bone there, Stevie. I think he's got 40-point upside. You won't see it every game. You've got to pick the right spots, but at 5,700, I'm okay. Grant Williams just came out and shot really well the other night. Stevie took him under 11.5 points. And, of course, the one time I take him under 11.5, he doubles that total and scores 22. This is going to be my Harrison Barnes call of the night. I'm going right back to the well with some Grant Williams unders. Please give us 12.5. Don't go down to 10.5. I don't know where it is right now. I haven't looked, but he's going to be a repeat offender for me, Stevie. Just go ahead and sign me up for the under on whatever his point total is, as long as it's 10 or more. I do think, Bridges, I think he's been playing well. I think Miller's okay. All these starters, I like them. If Terrence Mann comes back, I don't play either. I don't play him or Mitchell, but I still get some shares of Miller. I still get some shares of Bridges, still get some shares of Nick Richards. I definitely do not play Grant Williams, I think, if a man comes back.
Yeah, I mean, Bertans the other night, he didn't really do much. Richards is the guy that he's so close. He's just so close to taking that next step DFS wise. He's so close, a couple extra shots or baskets. Yeah. And if we're talking a 13-15 game, we're talking the potential of that 35, 38, 40. So I don't hate it. I don't love this game. Again, I know I've said that a bunch, but I don't love this game. Charlotte's been better defensively. They're not the best, but they're okay. Memphis is a middle-of-the-road defensive team. We look at the last 10 games. Memphis is 26th in pace. Charlotte's 23rd. This game has a low total for a reason. So, yeah. And Brandon Miller, just a really bad taste in my mouth. He had 8 minutes to get one more bucket the other night to hit the over against Detroit. Yeah. 8 minutes. Killing me, Miller. Killing me, man.
Killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, killing me, Smalls. All right, let's talk about the Memphis side of this one. Again, so many people out here. I don't know what to expect here on a back-to-back as far as this team in general.
I don't even know who's going to play.
Right. Yeah, it's really tough. Yeah. We talked about this yesterday. We said if Jamison starts, take some shots on him. He had a solid game. Goodwin played. And he almost had a poor man's triple-double. It was 8, 7, and 12. Really solid, Let's talk about Memphis here. It's tough, but what are we doing here?
See, here's the thing. Is Kennard going to play today? He's someone that's been out. I don't know. I mean, maybe you take a shot on Kennard. Maybe you take a shot on LaRavia. You definitely take a shot on Jamison if all these guys are out. I think that's what you do. Kennard, LaRavia, Jamison, and then you leave it up to everything else. Because now Gigi Jackson's 5,900. I mean, he had a nice game against OKC. But still, man, Gigi at 59, he could easily sit or play 25 minutes. It's a weird team. Those three guys, I think, where I plant my flag, Steve.
Yeah, I hate to use the old hey, let's look and see who's in the starting lineup and projections and stuff for Memphis. But without an injury report for Memphis, it's whew, it's tough to sit here and talk Memphis. They're one of the toughest teams to figure out in the NBA this year, in my opinion. Yeah. So,
and they've been tough all season.
Yeah,
because Adams has been out, Ja's been out, then Jackson's been out, Bain is what a weird spot for this organization, Steve, where pretty much all your starters have been hurt for good portions of the year. Man.
Yeah. All right. Derek's teasing me about Lillard. Listen, Lillard.
Brandon Clark's been out. I'm sorry, Steve. This organization, I bet they just feel cursed. And I'm not saying they're cursed, but gosh, they got to feel bad about this.
They were a solid team last year, right?
Yeah, and the year before that.
Yeah, I mean, their injury report right now is a mile long. But what I don't understand about Memphis right now, Will, and I know you coach basketball. this is a perfect opportunity to let some of these young guys play. Like, why are we playing Concher and Kennard? Don't get me wrong. You have these guys, sure, but like, why are you not seeing what you have in like Gigi Jackson? Why are you not seeing what you have in Jamison? Why are you not seeing what you have in these guys? Like, that's the only thing that I don't understand.
Gigi Jackson, they should have unlimited minutes right now.
Right. Guys, they should do what Utah. Like, Utah is just like, hey, Keontae George, you're gonna go out and play. Like, he's terrible on defense right now. Keontae George is awful on defense, but he's learning at the highest level. And like, see what you have. Like, these guys aren't starting next year. Like, you look at the Memphis team in general, and you look at like all the people out. Desmond Bane, like you mentioned, Brandon Clark, Ja Morant, obviously, like Marcus Smart, like
the whole starting lineup is out.
Yeah, see what you have. Triple J's out. Like, see what you have. Like, who can be useful in like a 6, 7, 8 type role next year? Because none of these guys are starting.
Absolutely be useful. He's not going to start, but he could become a really good 6-man on this team, and maybe he blossoms into something. And maybe at some point Marcus Smart's older, Bane is older. It's like, well, GG's got to start now.
It blows my mind. Like, why? Like, I'm not playing. Sorry, Concher, I'm not playing you 30 minutes. I'm not letting you go out and take 5 shots. Like, that's a waste of time for me. I'm gonna play Gigi Jackson 35 minutes, and I'm gonna see what he has. I'm gonna give Jamison minutes. I'm gonna give Wayne Gabriel minutes. Like, I'm gonna see what I have in some of these young players. So I don't know. Memphis. Whatever. Charlotte at New Orleans. We're moving on. Or not Charlotte, Cleveland at New Orleans. 217 total in this game. Another game. There's a lot of bad games on the slate. And it's just raw points are going to matter so much. 217.5. New Orleans a 6.5 point favorite. Not necessarily bad basketball games. I meant DFS wise. Jerome, Mobley, Strus, Wade out, Mitchell questionable. New Orleans is good to go. Nobody on the injury report for them night before. Let's talk Cleveland here first. Obviously, the biggest thing here is Mitchell. It's a knee bruise. He's returned to practice. I would not be shocked if he is back for this game. I don't know what he'd be minutes wise. He's been out for 2 weeks. We'll have to kind of see. What are your initial thoughts here on Cleveland?
Well, I think if Mitchell is back, I'm still somewhat interested in Jared Allen for what it's worth with no Mobley. Stevie, I think as we've talked about on this show, and I know you've mentioned several times, Allen without Mobley is a totally different DFS player. Mobley comes back, you just quit playing him. Mobley's out. Allen he just finds ways, Stevie, to put up 40, 50 fantasy points. Now, I know the past couple of games we haven't seen that, but the minutes have still been there. So I'm still okay with Allen for upside at 8,400. One of the things that's interesting, Stevie, this isn't DFS related, but I do think it's impactful in a way. Like, Donovan Mitchell is no longer eligible for any in-season awards this year because of that injury, Stevie. So in terms of NBA first teams, like that, it could get a little dicey there. So I think the point I'm trying to make is, if he's not all the way back, like they could very well say, hey, Don, let's give it one more game. Now, I think he's going to play in this game, but I do think as we get down to the end of the season, they will give him rest time if he needs it. But if Mitchell's in, I'm not playing any of the guards. The Vert would be out, Garland would be out, but I'd still be in on Jared Allen. And I do think he could come back this game. Like we talked about him coming back to practice. I'm going to proceed as if he plays. And so for me, it's just Jared Allen in this game.
Yeah, I like Allen a lot. Again, like, raw points are going to matter. He has a much higher ceiling here when Mobley's out. Mitchell matters a little bit for me. Not necessarily for like Garland. I think Garland's price is okay, but like, of all people, I think it matters for some of these like secondary pieces, like LeVert and these guys. So Be watching the Mitchell news. I think Levert's okay. Large field tournaments with like on the Cleveland side, they are missing like a few like key pieces here. Mobley, like we talked about, Strus, but like Wade being out too. It's opened up some extra minutes for Niang. So in large field tournaments, I don't mind looking at Niang. Like he's a small forward, power forward, 5K play, and he's flashed some 30-point games here recently. So when he's shooting well, they seem to like him. So I don't mind him in this spot. Size-wise, they're going to need some size in this game. Like New Orleans plays size, decently. So don't mind it. Going to the Pelicans here. Gosh, I don't know how much I love him, but looking at it on like the backside, looking in here, who's going to kind of stop Zion in this game? I mean, like that's my initial thought is like this might be a road to Zion going 50 plus fantasy points type of game.
Yeah, it could, man. We've seen him do it in the past couple starts. Squeeze out a 55 burger against Philly. Now, look, Philly's a way different team than Cleveland. Cleveland's going to have much better defensive resistance than this. But once again, Steve, you talked about it. We're seeing Zion start to pop with fantasy points. So I like him in this spot here. Brandon Ingram down to 7,900. I think it's just okay. Like, I'm not thrilled, but if you decided that he was your last guy in, I wouldn't hate it. Excuse me, Valanciunas down to 5,400. Stevie, I'm getting real close to pulling the Valanciunas button. I'm getting really close here, Stevie. At 5,400, now we're in that spot where it's like we might need to start playing him. He could hit 30 fantasy points in 20 minutes. It's possible. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying it's possible. We've seen Larry Nance start to pick up minutes, Stevie. He's 3,600. Played 27 and 29 minutes against Philly and Atlanta. So I think he's probably going to be one of these values we reach for, kind of like Jonathan Isaac, Stevie. So I like these spots. But everybody else I'm okay with leaving on the shelf.
All right, we finish out the slate here, not including the 10 o'clock games on either FanDuel or DraftKings, which I kind of like because there's a lot of back-to-backs and a lot of injury news that very, very happy with leaving these off. I think this is a really, as much as I hate to say it, I think it's a solid 7-game slate. I don't love some of the games, but I would much rather this be a 7 than like a 10-gamer with a ton of like back-to-backs. Speaking from a true...
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say, speaking from a true dad.
Were you guys on the Kevin Huerter over 3.5 rebounds?
I was on Kevin Huerter points. It was 8.5.
I was on his under rebounds. He's already cleared it.
Well, okay. When I talked about it yesterday, Keegan Murray was questionable, and I said on the podcast that I thought Keegan Murray was on the doubtful side of questionable. So we jumped on Huerter's points last night on the podcast at 8.5, and it at 14 minutes into the game. So sometimes you're just right, and I was right about Huerter. So far, not right about Dame hitting some threes, but we'll see how that shapes up. We also yesterday were talking on the podcast about the NHL prop model. 2-0 again tonight on block shot props. Just printing, man. That thing is just betting hockey is like one of my favorite things to do now. And like I am 100% serious. Betting hockey is like one of my favorite things to do. Derek White just hit his over point rebounds, assists. Just shooting crazy good tonight. All right, Golden State at Dallas. This is the game. 238.5 total. Dallas is 7.5 point favorite. Steph out. This is the game. This is the game that has the pace, the scoring. We're loading up on this game, and we're loading up on the Toronto-Detroit game. I mean, that's just where I'm at. Let's talk Golden State here first. Fat Curry out the last couple of games. What are we doing here with the Warriors?
Yeah, man, give me TJD. Like, he's a guy that's starting to play some minutes now, so I don't hate him. I don't hate Kuminga, Stevie, playing, low to mid-30s minutes. I think if it's competitive, he's a guy that they're going to rely upon to kind of carry some of the scoring load. So I'm okay with him. Klay Thompson in a spot where he should be playing big minutes. Also, I wish he was a little cheaper, but I think I would still play him in this spot. No matter what. And then of course, the point guard Chris Paul, man, playing 30+ minutes. Stevie, 44 fantasy points the other night, 19, 9, and 8. Wow. At this elderly age
against Kyrie and Luka.
I like it at 6,900. I mean, if he's going to play this many minutes, Stevie, and they need him to score some, like he's going to get some assists and he's going to get some rebounds, but they need him to score some, which means he's probably, in my opinion, he's going to probably average 12 to 15 throughout this stretch. And I'm okay with 15 points when you're getting 10 assists and 4 or 5 rebounds.
Chris Paul might be my favorite play on the slate. And like 29 and 33 minutes here in back-to-back games. And the first time they played San Antonio, that game kind of got out of hand. And he didn't need to, but like Gabe stayed super competitive the other night against San Antonio.
19 shots.
And it was spread out. It wasn't like he had this like big stint of fantasy points. It was very spread out. They started Klay. They moved Podsy to the bench. We should note that. So Podsy had a lot of second team usage. Him and Chris Paul kind of flipped their first quarter, and they did the same thing in the third quarter. And Podsy actually played really well in those two stints. So I like Chris Paul a lot. I like Podsy. I think I might be out on Klay, and that might be a mistake. He's 6,400, and all he's doing is scoring. So, like, if I'm taking shots on Klay, it's probably like on the sports books. It might be like firing up some Klay point props. He's at 21.5. I like playing him or taking over 21.5 more than I like playing him in DFS because, he's taking 20 shots, and he's going to take double-digit threes in this game. But I think in the DFS space, I like Paul, Podsy. I think, like you said, Jackson Davis they're going to need his size in this game. So I like Jackson Davis as well. And then on the Dallas side, Luka's just on another level right now. He's just this game is it's a short slate. We've already talked about all the potential value in that Toronto game. I think you just have to plug and play Luka today. I don't think you necessarily want to think twice about it. You're just like, all right, well, I'm just going to take my 70+ fantasy points from Luka. He had 34 fantasy points in 11 minutes the other night.
Yeah, unbelievable. Here's what I'll say. I think you play Luka. I think you play some Daniel Gafford. I leave it at that. Like I don't even care about playing Kyrie in the spot. Like Luka's just doing so much, man. So that's where I am. Luka, Daniel Gafford, call it a day.
Yeah, Gafford and Lively still kind of splitting, but they both have. Lively had an insane game the other night. He had one of those wild games, but yeah, I think this is a good spot to play Luka in large field tournaments. Do you be like, hey, Kyrie, or you just accept the fact that like Luka is on this level right now, and you're just like, if Luka doesn't show up tonight, I'm okay with losing and moving on to the next slate.
That's how I feel. I think like for instance, before I play Kyrie, I play Kade Cunningham tonight, without question. So I'll just leave it with Luka and I'll let chips fall where they may.
All right, that's kind of how I feel. I feel like Luka's the first guy in, and then I just build around. He's 12.8. He's expensive, but like my favorite stack on the other side of this game is Chris Paul. So it's 6,900. It's not like I'm paying a huge price. So I don't know. It's Luka, and then I build around him. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
All right, let's play the morning grind game, and then we'll get out of here. Go sweat our single game parlay that we got going on over in the Milwaukee-Sacramento game. Game is at 93 points with 6 minutes to go in the second quarter, so we're getting the pace and the scoring. Yeah, we're getting the pace and the scoring we wanted out of that game. Off to a fantastic pace start of that one. We just need Dame to hit some threes. All right. Favorite play under 5K to go 7X. Who do you like here?
Oh man, Stevie, I do think we've got some options today. I think I'm going to side with these guys being out. Give me Grady Dick at 4,800.
Yeah, I like that. I wrote down Jameson here. I hope he starts, and I hope they give him the run because Jameson at 4,300 against Charlotte just seems like a smash price. So we'll see how it works out and whatnot. But yeah, I love this spot here for Trey Jameson. Over 8K to go under 5X, small slate, pace down games. Who do you like to bust today?
Paolo Banchero, 8,900 versus Brooklyn.
Yeah, Paulo, my guy. Yeah, I don't mind that one. I am going to go Miles Bridges here. Bridges has been playing really good, and I like it, but this is a tough price at 8,800 in a game that's just going to be really slow. Playing a ton of minutes, though. Favorite 6X play?
I like a couple guys in this spot, Stevie. Give me Kade Cunningham. I think Kade goes off, man. Give me Kade.
All right, I like it. I'm going to go Chris Paul. I already talked about how Chris Paul is one of my favorite plays today. I like Chris Paul a lot. Let's get weird. GPP play of the day. What do you got for us today, Will?
Jared Allen, 8,400. He's the one guy from Cleveland, even in a tough spot. Been putting up some monster numbers. I think he can get there even if Mitchell comes back. Jared Allen, 8,400. Expecting low ownership on him today for sure.
Like it. I am going to go Jonathan Isaac. I don't think Jonathan Isaac's going to get ownership. I want to play Luka as much as I can, and I think Jonathan Isaac can go for 25-plus points. So, Jonathan Isaac is very, very active when he's on the floor. One of the best defenders in the NBA. I think he gets 16 to 19 minutes in this game, kind of what he's been averaging recently. And yeah, when he's out there, he's going to be scoring fantasy points. It's all about minutes. So I like Jonathan Isaac at 3,500 here. The game is not close. He gets off the floor, which is a bummer, but like Isaac a lot.
Yeah.
As a weird GPP play. 25 points for 3,500 on this slate seems really solid. So hopefully he goes overlooked. All right, let's go to the betting portion of the Morning Grind show. Any player props or pick and plays that you like?
Well, people have been telling me on Scores and Odds they've hated me the past 2 days. I've missed both of my plays, Stevie. Some of my good old reliables just aren't coming through, and that's okay. I talked about it. I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to see if it's up, Stevie. It may not be up, and it is not up. But if you get, Grant Williams at 11.5, 10.5, 12.5, I would like under on that particular projection. I definitely think this is a spot where, we see some failure there. So that's my prop play for the day. And then in terms of actual games here, you've got the Heat at plus 3.5. I like the Nuggets. Give me the Nuggets minus 3.5. I know they're on the road. I like the Nuggets to win this one here. I think they're just a better team than the Heat.
All right, I don't mind those, but I have two player props that I really like on today's slate that I've already bet, so I'm going to give out both of them before I head over to Scores and Odds and write them up. Give me Kade Cunningham over 22.5 points. Oh, yeah. Toronto has been really bad defensively here recently, so really like Kade. He's shooting at least 20 times now in 4 straight games. He's hit this prop in 3 of his last 4 games. Love this matchup for Kade Cunningham. So give me Kade over 22.5 points. And then I'm going to go back to Chris Paul playing solid minutes in a really competitive game here against Dallas. I'm going to take Chris Paul over 23.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We talked about how he almost had a triple-double last time out. Usage is up. Minutes are up. This game should stay competitive. So give me Chris Paul over 23.5 points, rebounds, assists. The man that does it all, Chris Paul. Like that one a lot. Will, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Yeah, Grant was asking, Derek was asking, did we want Grant Williams under 12.5 points? Yes. If you get it 12.5, that's fantastic, I think. I'm in even at 11.
A couple days. Hope everyone has a fantastic Wednesday. Hopefully Dame gets us some threes here, and we get some Dame time where he hits like 2 or 3 or 4 threes in a row, and we can hit this single game parlay that we'll be sweating out. So appreciate everyone hanging out with us live. Malik Beasley's hitting the threes. We just need Dame to hit his threes. Have a fantastic Wednesday. We're back tomorrow talking hoops. Good luck, everyone.